my gosh, he actually has a literal swamp butt. Hello and welcome to another episode of Irk's Collectibles. On today's episode, I have the new Swamp Thing from DC Multiverse McFarlane Toys. Super excited to open this guy. He has been delayed like 4 times, so glad to finally have him. As a reminder, if you could please give a like to the video, really helps this video get shared with other people. And if you would consider subscribing, I would appreciate that as well. This box is by far the biggest for the mega figures, and the figure looks to be the biggest one yet, which is a little odd to me. Swamp Thing generally isn't a giant. There he is in the plastic, and he looks amazing. I can't wait to check out his articulation. Here he is out of the packaging. First impressions are, I love the amount of detail in the figure. There's so many different textures. You've got kind of vine looking material, you've got wood, you've got leaves, which is accurate because he's made up of so many different parts of foliage and swamp, materials. So that is really cool. That's one thing that McFarlane has been doing really well this year, is really spot on textures, and I'll show that a little closer up in a minute. He of course comes with the kind of vine spike that you can replace his right hand with. Show that later. He comes with the trading card. Kind of got a Bigfoot vibe going on there, which is cool. He does come with just a regular stand, which, side note, I wish he came with a bigger stand. He's such a huge character. He does feel like he could fall over very easily. So if you have an extra stand, you might want to pop that in the other foot, or a bigger stand. That would really help him be a lot more sturdy. It does work, but that would be nice. So I just wanted to give a detailed look at the figure. The head sculpt is really nice. I like the accurate design. He's always had that kind of interesting nose ridge type thing, which is really part of his design, so I'm really glad they stuck with that. He's got those red eyes. And there was a variant with antlers. I believe it's a new 52 version, but I much prefer the classic Swamp Thing, and I think they did really nice with that. As you go down, you can start to see multiple different shades of green, which really helps sell that wood plant aesthetic. It's got that dark vine color, and then the kind of brownish, maybe mud, dirt. Or I guess he doesn't necessarily have dirt, it's more of a wood color. And they really did an amazing job. And I like that it's not symmetrical. If you look at it, this shoulder has a lot of leaves growing. This one's different, which is accurate. He's definitely not a symmetrical looking character, because every time he forms, he's different. They've even got some vines hanging down by his hands. And I think the only thing I don't really love is the crotch piece is a little wonky looking. It kind of is jagged and it doesn't quite blend in as it should. So that's honestly so far, that's my only complaint. But from the back it looks much better. It's just in the front, it's kind of a little weird, which, McFarlane kind of does that with most of their figures. But going down the other side, he's also got some vines, some nice wood pieces. The legs, again, it's just so detailed. It's incredible. Ooh, he's even got like some maybe fungus growth, which is really a cool detail they've added just to show that plant diversity. Really quick, I wanted to show the kind of spike hand, how that will fit in. So you can just pop off the right hand and it just pops right in. It's not too difficult. You always want to be a little careful just because sometimes the joint pieces can be a little weak. I found that out when I snapped off the Red Sun Superman's head by trying to pull it off, so just always be careful there. But this is a cool accessory. I'm glad they included it. Usually the Mega figures don't have any accessories, which is kind of a shame, especially for the $40 price, but they did give Swamp Thing this really cool spike thing. So you can kind of pose him to have more of a dynamic pose, have him facing off against somebody. Let's get into the articulation. He does have butterfly joints, which is always appreciated. And he can extend his arms completely. It's nice that these shoulder pieces are very bendable and they can get out of the way so that his arms can move around. So that is a great touch. He does have bicep swivels, although they're not wanting to move very much. Mine might be stuck on the left arm. Let's try the right. The right one is moving, so yeah, I might just have to heat that up later. You might have some stuck joints. But he does have bicep swivels. Again, you can see the butterfly joints better when you kind of move that. He does have just single jointed elbows, which seems like most Mega figures from McFarlane only have the single joint. So he can only bend his elbow that much. And then another thing that the Mega figures have generally is the weird kind of hinge wrist instead of the ball joint. I don't really love ball jointed wrists. If you've watched this channel, you're aware of that. But I also don't really love these hinge things either, just because it sticks out, looks a little weird. But it does its job, works well enough. So the other arm is the same way, of course. Bends that much. He does have a separate chest piece from his waist and stomach. And he can, there's 2 points of articulation here, so he can bend back a bit and forward a little bit, not a ton. For his head articulation, almost forgot, he can bend up slightly and down quite a bit, so that's nice. And then side to side, not a lot. I mean, for my purposes, that's plenty, but and then of course the 360 degrees. And then for the legs, he does have double jointed knees, which is interesting. He doesn't have double jointed elbows, but he does have double jointed knees. And they're actually really good. They can bend almost to be parallel, the thigh and the calf, which is really cool. You could get them into some interesting, maybe yoga poses. Just kidding. But that is nice. I like that they still gave us double jointed knees. Kind of wish they had given us double jointed elbows, but I'm wondering if the sculpt kind of got in the way. Not sure there. He does have the ball ankles, ball joints, and the regular McFarlane pivot feet, or toes, I should say. The ankles don't move a lot, but they're also not so hindered that you can't pose him. Like, you can get them to move enough to where he can stand pretty good. Again, no, he's standing without a stand, but generally he is kind of top heavy and a little hard to pose, so you'll need a stand if you want to display, or I would recommend one. There's some of that detail. Oh, he's even got like, that's awesome, like little spine protrusions, which is really cool. If you know the story of Swamp Thing, you know that he was formerly a man named Alec Holland, who his essence transferred to the Swamp Thing, basically deity. I won't get into it, it's kind of complicated, but it's kind of cool that he's mimicking the human form with plants, because that's what Alec Holland used to be. So I really like that. A lot of really neat details. And honestly, guys, this, I'll have to think about it, but this might be my favorite McFarlane Toys of 2021. It's gorgeous. One of my favorite DC characters as well. So really pleased that McFarlane is giving us some of those deep cuts, some of those lesser known characters, but still fan favorites. If you're wondering how big he is, he comes in just under a foot. So he's about 11 3/4 inch tall, which is giant. A lot bigger than the other mega figures we've seen. Here we have Darkseid and King Shark, which were both mega figures. My King Shark was a Build-A-Figure version, but he was sold as a mega figure as well. So you can see the size difference between these three mega figures. Swamp Thing towers above the other two. Just want to get into that a little bit. I don't love that, and I'll tell you why. Swamp Thing obviously can grow to be gigantic. He could be 50, 100 feet tall if he wanted. But generally, he appears more human size. So he'll usually be maybe, a big human. So like maybe 6'5" or 6'6". And so in most of his comics that I've read, he tries to be more human-sized because he still has that connection with humans. So I don't love that they went with such a huge version of the character. Again, it's accurate because he can grow as big as he wants, basically. But I do wish he was smaller, in my opinion. I would like him to have been maybe the size that the Lobo McFarlane Toys figure was. Since I mentioned Lobo, here Lobo is next to Swamp Thing along with the new Rebirth Superman. Canonically, Superman is 6'3" in the comics. So if you're going with that scale in mind, Superman's 6'3", Lobo's probably 6'8" there, and Swamp Thing, phew, he's got to be 8 or 9 feet tall. Not sure, but that's just my headcanon scale. So Swamp Thing is gigantic. For my final thoughts, 10 out of 10. This figure is amazing. I have a few little nitpicks, but that doesn't take away from what they've produced here. It is a phenomenal figure, contender for my top McFarlane toy of this year. That is a feat in and of itself because it's been a great year for DC Multiverse. For sure. Highly recommended. Grab this guy as soon as you can. If you were on the fence, go get him. And I just want to make a little shout out to the Swamp Thing run by Alan Moore. I've been reading comics for 15 years. I love comics, and without a doubt, Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run is my favorite run in comics of all time. It has so much emotion. It really asks the question of what makes us human. There's many interesting villains, and if you've read anything by Alan Moore, you'll know just how special of a writer he really is. I've read Watchmen, I've read The Killing Joke, I've read his Superman stuff, but to me, Swamp Thing is leagues above those, and those are amazing in their own right. Would highly recommend the Alan Moore Swamp Thing run. It is available in trade paperback. If you don't really know about the character, go pick up that comic. You will become a Swamp Thing fan. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I really appreciate the views. And again, if you could like the video, that would really help me out a lot. And consider subscribing if you do enjoy collectibles. I post many different videos about a lot of DC Multiverse and many different things. So check out the channel if you want. Hope you have a great new year.